YouTube. Features: how the search for Spock and First Contact influenced Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3. In the first episode of Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3, fans are treated to some of the familiar inspirations that they can relate to in enjoying this series. This article contains Star Trek Lower Decks spoilers. Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3 Episode 1, Grounded. Living and laughing often go in the same sentence. That's the case with Star Trek Lower Decks, which just kicked off its third season. Laughter has a purity of spirit. If something can't survive a little ribbing, then it's not worthwhile and can't hold up to the serious criticisms in life. When I was growing up, the way we expressed our love for something in my family was to make fun of it. Star Trek Lower Decks creator and showrunner Mike McMahon tells us. That's a great philosophy. After all, a shared joke or relating to familiar references brings us all together, doesn't it? Next 360p 720 PhD 1080 PhD Auto 360p about Conatix V178278 about Conatix V178278 null. At the conclusion of Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2, Captain Carol Freeman was arrested and charged with the devastation of the Packled planet's capital city. In the opening scene of the Season 3 premiere, she stands trial for this accusation as relayed to us via a news broadcast. complete with ticker headlines at the bottom of the screen. Trek fans may want to press pause and pay careful attention to those bulletins, by the way. So, what about the Trek influences? One obvious one is Brad Boimler, Jack Wade, working in a vineyard that his family owns, wearing an outfit that might have come straight from the closet of one Rene Picard. Oh, and he isn't making wine with those grapes, folks. No, the Boimler family knows that behind every good grape there's a raisin waiting to be born. Humorous touches like these resonate with those next-generation style moments that reinforce feelings of family and friendship. Lower Decks is about friendship, McMahon says. But we really wanted to do a Star Trek 3 sort of mixed with First Contact and the whole idea of seeing Earth as you come back to it. The First Contact and Star Trek 3, the search for Spock elements are definitely present. For example, Boimler is holding a Type 3 phaser rifle, the same armament we saw in First Contact, while the hat that Tendi is wearing recalls the one worn by Zefram Cochrane in that film. I love Jonathan Frakes and First Contact is my favorite Star Trek movie, McMahon says. We see a change in character in Beckett Mariner, Tawny Newsome, in this episode. She's still rage-filled and enjoys breaking things, but she has a definite sense of familial protectiveness in this episode, coupled with her frustration and anger as she has to watch her mother be taken away in handcuffs to await trial for a crime that everyone knows she didn't commit. Of course, that means that Beckett has to get the band back together as the Cerritos crew is placed on leave awaiting the decision of the trial. It calls back to the Star Trek 3 vibe of Kirk organizing his loyal bridge crew to steal the Enterprise and mount Spock's rescue. There's a definite nod to that bit of Trek lore in this episode, as fans will recognize and love. It's also represented when we see the USS Cerritos stolen right out of space dock, also revealed in the trailer and definitely happens in this episode. Get the best of Den of Geek delivered right to your inbox. You know those episodes in TNG, Voyager, or DS9, when we see ships successfully return to Earth. We wanted one of those episodes where you feel successful, he tells us. In this episode, that successful feeling is achieved when the Enterprise sees Earth unsullied by the Borg, or when the captured bird of prey, the Bounty, achieves orbit around Vulcan. Those are triumphant moments for the Lower Decks crew, and we hope for many more this season. Written by John K. Kirk at CAPJK Kirk. Review: Star Trek Lower Decks comes home and grounded. Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 1 debuted Thursday, August 25, 2022, written by Chris Pula, directed by Jason Zurich. Spoiler-free review. In a welcome return to form, Lower Decks goes big on the laughs and the heart in this strong season debut. Don Lewis as Captain Carol Freeman. Warning, spoilers below. Recap. Take that, conservative military court. The fallout continues from Captain Freeman's arrest at the end of Season 2, and Mariner is not handling her impending trial well, taking it out on all the screens and breakable objects at Admiral Dad's home. Somehow there is now video proof that Carol did the deed to Packled Planet. With the Cerritos impounded and the crew grounded, episode title alert: Mariner ignores her father's faith in the system, deciding she is the one to exonerate Carol. Vietnam sees she is not acting rationally. She was even bad-mouthing the Golden Gate Bridge, big dumb red thing. Who does that? With Dad no help, Mariner seeks out Boimler, miserable and oblivious at the family vineyard, which turns out to be a raisin vineyard, of course. Brad is feeling as shriveled and hopeless and stuck on Earth as those raisins, and jumps at the chance to save the captain, suggesting they use his suck-up fanboy personal copies of the senior officer logs. If only they knew an engineer who could tell them where the Cerritos is. Rutherford. He is with Tendi, doing some Earth sightseeing at a familiar New Orleans restaurant, and the team hatches a cunning plan to get to the ship, which requires them to sneak into a secure Starfleet facility and deal with its psycho badass in charge of the encrypted transporter. The good news is that badass is just a sweet old buffer buff who would love to help but can only offer butterscotch, candies, and soup as some migrated space blobs are disrupting the transporters. If only they had some kind of ship. But something Tendi says about a missed stop on her Earth tour gives Mariner an insane idea. Noel Wells as Ensign Tendi, Eugene Cordero as Ensign Rutherford, Tawny Newsome as Ensign Beckett Mariner, and Jack Quaid as Ensign Brad Boimler. Hello, explorers, and welcome to the 21st century. Welcome to historic Bozeman, site of the best Star Trek film of the 90s. The ensigns find a lot more than a giant statue of Zefram Cochrane reaching out to the stars, as it seems the events of that movie have inspired an awesome theme park celebrating humanity's first contact. Although the Vulcans may raise an eyebrow at their scout ship being turned into a kiddie slide, which Tendi adorably calls logical. After getting matching hats and some churros, they focus on their objective. The gang boards a replica of the original Phoenix and gets ready to take it to the Cerritos, although due to extra seats, a nervous Rondo named Gavin is coming along for the ride, which is piloted by a hologram who likes to rock and roll just like the original. With apologies to Mr. Cochrane, Rutherford reprograms the ship to take them right to the dry dock, leaving a newly confident Gavin in command to begin a new adventure trekking across the stars. Spoiler alert, he reluctantly gets rescued at the end, so don't worry. They soon find Boimler super detailed logs for the mission to the LOP system, which is nowhere near Packled Planet and should clear Carol. However, Brad just had to Boimler all over the logs with a series of embarrassing asides, including issues with excess gas, dropping his tricorder in the toilet again, and his habit of sniffing the captain's chair. Beckett loses it, saying this blooper reel can't be played in court, but the team convinces her it's worth trying. Or so they thought. She tricked them into a shuttle program to return to Earth, leaving her to go full Kirk in Star Trek III and steal the ship. Her new crazy plan is to find the Klingons that made the Packled planet bomb, but her friends, thanks to Brad's quick thinking, return before she can end up on the short end of a battleth. After some fighting and bonding and a bit of an emotional breakthrough for Beckett admitting to just how much she needs her mom, they agree to return to Plan A with Boimler's embarrassing but exonerating logs. And then some Starfleet security ships show up. Come on guys, they were having such a nice moment. Noel Wells as Ensign Tendi, Eugene Cordero as Ensign Rutherford, Tawny Newsome as Ensign Beckett Mariner, and Jack Quaid as Ensign Brad Boimler. I'm your mama now. Things look grim and Mariner prepares to take the fall for her friends, but now it's Tendi's time to shine. Duvana shows it was no fluke that she was transferred to the science officer track, with an epic bluff about surveying the Verugament, those space blobs, who are now having a mass reproductive event, aka an orgy, on the hull of the USS Cerritos. The security guys come aboard and Tendi sets the gang to work in the shuttle bay doing some truly gross and painful work to help the blobs procreate. Her enthusiasm for science truly inspires the security guys, so this bluff is totally going to work. Until they simply ask for the name of the commander who authorized the alien orgy helping mission. Dramatic pause. Enter Captain Freeman along with Admiral Hubby and the whole bridge crew gang. Carol confirms it was she who issued that order, saving her daughter's butt one more time. After the hugs, it's time for Freeman to explain how she got out of that legal jam with an epic montage full of major name-dropping detailing how an elite covert Starfleet squad got to the truth of the bombing of Packled Planet. Turns out it was the Packleds themselves, because of course it was. In a classic Packled Samaritan snare, the smart guys framed Freeman so they can get the Federation to give them a nicer planet. Who would have thought Starfleet would come through? Actually everyone except a Mariner. And so now it's time for Freeman to deal with her well-meaning but way too troublesome ship-stealing daughter. Since the Cerritos was already Mariner's last chance to stay in Starfleet, Captain Mom and Admiral Dad admit they can't be the ones to discipline her with real consequences, so they bring in a ringer. Enter a very willing Commander Jack Ransom, who is all too happy to handle Beckett's double-secret probation, and if she screws up one more time, she will be wearing her cool civvies full-time. Hello, stakes for Season 3 and welcome back Lower Decks. Eugene Cordero as Ensign Rutherford, Tawny Newsome as Ensign Beckett Mariner, Don Lewis as Captain Carol Freeman, and Phil Lamar as Admiral Freeman. Analysis. Welcome back. Lower Decks returns strong with one of its funniest episodes yet. But even with some classic Lower Decks gags like Boimler getting slimed, the humor feels more character-based for this third and perhaps more mature season. Overtly evoking classic Earth-based treks like TNG's Family, we were reintroduced to our core four characters, learning new things about each and resetting the ensign's arcs for the new season. Giving a double meaning to the episode title, Grounded. Although Boimler's vineyard being for raisins was a great gag. The other running gag of his obliviousness over the hot girls and Daisy Dukes fawning over him seemed a bit of an out-of-place throwback. A standout performance from Tawny Newsome takes us on a journey as Mariner keeps us laughing with her escalating freakout but then tugs on the heartstrings as she breaks down admitting just how afraid she is for her mom. As in a classic sitcom, Mariner learned a lesson, in this case that maybe she should trust the Starfleet system, at least sometimes, something everyone else around her tried to tell her but she just wouldn't listen, which was both on brand for her, but also subverts some of the show's own expectations by reminding us the senior officers aren't the out-of-touch adversaries of our lower deckers. They actually know what they are doing because they are worthy Starfleet officers, so of course they do. And the lower deckers themselves each had their own moments, showing how smart they are in that they, too, are worthy of Starfleet, never requiring the idiot plot to keep the show or the humor going. Jack Quaid as Ensign Brad Boimler, Eugene Cordero as Ensign Rutherford, Tawny Newsome as Ensign Beckett Mariner, and Noel Wells as Ensign Tendi. It was smart for the show to quickly resolve the season 2 to be continued cliffhanger quickly and in an unexpected way. That, along with the quick resolution to the Gavin storyline, shows how Lower Decks is sticking to its core competence and format of tight self-contained episodes, which of course was the staple of 1990s Star Trek that inspired the show. But still, we now can see some arcs developing, including a new confidence for Brad Boimler, a science-focused Tendi, and of course a new dynamic for Mariner and her minder Ransom. With these storylines offering some promising hijinks and character development, Jerry O'Connell as Commander Jack Ransom, and Tawny Newsome as Ensign Beckett Mariner. Ensigns on some kind of Star Trek. Lower Decks is known for its callback and references, and this episode delivers on that and more. There are the deep cuts like the Ketracel white hot sauce, and there were some deeper cuts in the FNN scroll, all of which will be explored in our usual follow-up Easter egg analysis. But the trip to historic Bozeman was a new kind of thing for the show, with a full-on celebration of a given Star Trek outing, which fit in well with the Earth-based theme of the episode. And you can't help but be delighted by the indulgence from Jerry Goldsmith's classic score to the amazing James Cromwell returning to voice a different kind of Cochrane, taking us on a magic carpet ride if we finish our food and beverages from Thirst Contact before boarding the Phoenix. This, along with the epic Starfleet mission montage, bodes well for a new level of connections to Trek for Season 3. There is a curious canon question here of when and how this theme park was developed. In First Contact, the 24th century Starfleet crew didn't have a full understanding of the true Cochrane, but this park had him down, including his goofy hat and love for Steppenwolf. This is set years later, so it appears that Picard's crew updated the historic record. I like to think Greg Barkley worked as a consultant, maybe with some entrepreneurial phalange, to develop this updated historical attraction. Tawny Newsome as Ensign Beckett Mariner, Jack Quaid as Ensign Brad Boimler, James Cromwell as Zephyr Cochrane, Noel Wells as Ensign Tendi, and Eugene Cordero as Ensign Rutherford. Final thoughts. Lower Decks is back with more of the same, which is a good thing, but also ups the ante as this show feels like it is maturing, adding more depth and character-based humor. This all bodes well as it kicks off its third season, which holds the promise of being the best yet. Jack Quaid as Ensign Brad Boimler, Noah Wells as Ensign Tendi, and Eugene Cordero as Ensign Rutherford. More bits. Random stuff. The capital of Packled Planet was Big Strong City. Beckett Mariner did not grow up on Earth. For the record, the Golden Gate Bridge is painted orange. Boimler's family having a vineyard outside was established in Way Dutch. It was outside Modesto, CA, which is where much of California raisins are grown. Thanks to his implant, Rutherford was able to recall the 19-digit coordinates of the dry dock. Chief Carlton, Denny, Dennis and Captain Gavin were voiced by Bobby Moynihan, best known for his work on Saturday Night Live, which include playing Spocko in a Star Trek skit with Chris Pine. Admiral Buenamigo and one of the security guys was voiced by Carlos Alazraqui, father of Relia Alazraqui, the voice of Rock Talk on Prodigy. The shuttle that crashed back into the Cerritos was the Joshua Tree, but it did look to be destroyed. You only have to be 100 centimeters, 3 foot 3 inches to ride the Phoenix. The Cerritos still had the hull plating stripped off, removed during the events of first contact. Boimler said his logs go back to 58,018.7, which would be around the time of episode 203. We'll always have Tom Paris. Among his admissions, Brad revealed he dyes his hair purple and no one knows his real hair color. The Starfleet security team were stationed at a Regula 1 type starbase which deployed Federation attack fighters. Captain Bateson's team used an Akira-class vessel. The forger they tracked down was a Zactern. Admiral Freeman's first name was revealed to be Alonso. His wife shortens it to Zoe. FNN reported a little boy solved Fermat's last theorem, which was actually solved in 1995. The TNG episode, The Royale, refers to it being unsolved, but the DS9 episode, Facets, references the proof by mathematician Andrew Wiles. The Packled Queen was seen arrested during the epic montage. Yes, I know the Undiscovered Country came out in the 90s. Still say STFC is better. Come at me. Bobby Moynihan is Denny. Laugh lines. Get the fuck out of our way. Tana. Nobody drives anymore. Why do you need a bridge? This planet is whack. Mariner. She was saving another ship for Kirksaki. Boimler. Want to test the sweetness of my bushel? Genevieve. Don't let the door hit ya where the Big Bang split ya. Denny. We can't tie this guy up. He's like the sweetest old man in the world. We hope you enjoy yourself and make a first contact with fun. Holograms Ephraim Cochrane. Alright, buckos, prepare for your trek amongst the stars. Holograms Ephraim Cochrane. Oh, they're dressed like the 21, it's just like post-World War III. Rutherford. My shirt could be a little more asymmetrical. Rutherford. I guess they were in search of a breeding ground and we're it. So magical. Tendi. Even covered in alien sploof, there is no place I would rather be. Boimler. Jack Quaid as Ensign Brad Boimler, and Tawny Newsome as Ensign Beckett Mariner. More to come. Every Friday, the TrekMovie.com all-access Star Trek podcast covers the latest news in the Star Trek universe. The podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, Stitcher, and is part of the Trek Movie Podcast Network. On Saturday, we'll post our weekly analysis of Easter eggs and references for this episode.